Insomnia is our second album for release on the Warner Classics label. It tells the journey of a troubled, dark night, and within it there's a whole range of amazingly intense, colourful, atmospheric music which exploits the full range of the chamber orchestra and also of our wonderful soloist Allan Clayton.
Working with Nick Collin has been fantastic. To work with Aurora, with all these wonderful musicians who, many of whom are also friends, it's an absolute treat.
On a poet's lips I slept.
The two centerpieces of the disc are Britten's wonderful nocturne for tenor, 7 obligato instruments and strings, and Brett Dean's Pastoral Symphony. Britten's nocturne is an extraordinary piece. It sets different poems, all of which show a different colour about the night, a different angle on what the night can hold, and he exploits all the textures of the strings to their full potential, and also all the wind instruments, all their individual colours. It's a tour de force.
The choice of poetry, I think, for me, darker poetry is always more interesting, and Britten addresses each of these with such insight that I really think it's an absolute masterpiece of the 20th century.
It's a piece that was actually recorded live in performance here in Fairfield Halls, Croydon, where we're recording the disc today, with Britten conducting himself on that very podium there back in 1964, 50 years ago. So it's quite an amazing experience to be replacing that ourselves 50 years later. Brett Dean's Pastoral Symphony is a piece that we came across 3 or 4 years ago. He's a wonderful composer. Coming from Australia, he wrote a piece that sheds light on the plight of Australian birds and how nature there has been savaged by mankind over time. Brett is a composer who came from a background himself as a viola player in the Berlin Philharmonic, and he knows how to challenge every player to their full potential. So all the parts are incredibly difficult, including very virtuosic parts for example, the percussion. The percussion in here, in this piece, are an amazing sort of bedrock behind the whole ensemble, and each of the two players have to play incredibly virtuosic parts.
Often percussion is just decoration, really. He's very specific about what kind of stick he wants. He uses metal sticks, brushes, wooden sticks. With the Brett Dean, we are also part of the meat of the music, which is very exciting. It's very technically challenging.
And alongside that, some gems for chamber ensemble, such as Tom Ades's arrangement of Couperin's Barricade Mystérieuse. This is just for 5 players. It's one of the most wonderful little miniatures transcribed into a chamber ensemble arrangement. Alongside that, the Beatles' Blackbird, I suppose one of the iconic songs of the night, which also ties in the idea of birds singing during the night, which comes from Brett Dean's Pastoral Symphony. Ivor Gurney's Sleep, and this is a beautiful song by a little-known English composer. It's an absolute gem of a piece, which Alan will sing again with us.
Gurney's Sleep, yeah, it's a fantastic song. It's quite an unsettling poem. There's never a moment from the very opening bar of the sort of the slightly dissonant, in our version, flute and clarinet parts. That means that there's never, although the title is Sleep, it's never an easy sleep. It's sort of a wakeful, a restless thing, which is perfect, I think, for the Insomnia disc.
Our whole disc, bound together by this idea of the ticking clock of night. The ticking clock itself, which appears in the Beatles' Blackbird, is shown by Ligeti's piece for metronomes. This is 100 metronomes. He calls it the Poème Symphonique. And that's why the metronomes sort of pervade the disc. It's this idea of the clock ticking in your head as you try to sleep at the end of the day.
You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise.